Good afternoon once again. After numerous delays, the mortal remains of 14 SANDF soldiers are set to be repatriated to South Africa tomorrow. They were killed during fighting between M23 rebels and the army in the DRC 2 weeks ago. Meanwhile, Reuters is reporting that South Africa may have deployed an additional 700 to 800 soldiers to that nation. The Defence Department is yet to respond to these claims. Newsroom Africa's Junior Kumalo is at the Union Buildings in Pretoria for the latest on the story. He joins us live. Junior, good afternoon to you. What do we know about this possible deployment of 700 to 800 more soldiers in the DRC?
Good afternoon to you, Michelle, and a good afternoon to our viewers. Indeed, there has been those reports that have been made by Reuters seemingly suggesting that there are additional troops that have been deployed to the DRC as South Africa is actually intensifying the fighting that has been happening in Goma. The reports came yesterday from Reuters. We have spoken to the Democratic Alliance. Chris Hutton, he is the defense spokesperson of the Democratic Alliance. He seems to be confirming that there are actually aircrafts that have left Waterkloof and traveled to the eastern DRC, and they suggest that it could be an additional deployment of South African soldiers. The Democratic Alliance has confirmed that they are not sure what exactly was being transported to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, but Reuters has confirmed that they have received confirmation from the ground in the DRC that about 700 or 800 additional troops have been taken to the DRC. We have tried to get a hold of the spokesperson of the Department of Defense, but they have not responded to those queries from Newsroom Africa. But the Minister of Defense has in the past indicated that it is hard to share some of these additional information because there is an active ongoing war there in the DRC, and any information that might be shared can compromise those soldiers on the ground. The Democratic Alliance seems to believe that South Africa might be trying to launch an offensive in Goma because there are soldiers that have been captured by the M23 rebels, South African soldiers that have been captured. So they seem to believe that this additional reinforcement is to try and launch an offensive and try and rescue those South African soldiers that have been captured. But let's take a listen to the DA and what it thinks about this situation.
What we know, and remember, nothing of this is confirmed by the SANDF. We know that some troops have left South Africa. We know that there were a number of flights between Waterkloof Airport Base as well as Lubumbashi. There are unconfirmed indications that we have a few hundred troops that have landed at Lubumbashi, most probably still at Lubumbashi. We don't know that. And nobody is saying or confirming this. If the intention would be a hot extraction of our troops, it would be a very, very bad idea, which will come at a massive price.
The Defense Department itself has not commented on these recent allegations that additional troops have been sent to the Democratic Republic of Congo, but they have confirmed that tomorrow they will be receiving those mortal remains of the 14 SANDF soldiers who lost their lives between the 27th and the 23rd and 27th of January last year, last month, when there was that intense fighting in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. But the Democratic Alliance has also urged government to come clean and explain what is going to happen to some of those individuals that were injured in battle. Because yes, we've received an update on those that lost their lives, that they are going to be coming back tomorrow. But what of those that are injured? What is still happening to them, especially given that that crisis seems to be getting exacerbated in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, Michelle?
So Junior, South Africa has deployed around 3,000 troops in this peacekeeping, some call it a peace enforcement mission in the DRC. And what has drawn a lot of criticism is the fact that once the biggest city of the DRC, Goma, fell to M23 rebels, the soldiers were stuck there with no clear exit strategy. And there were questions because of that and many other issues about how well resourced our deployment in the DRC is. I suppose this will raise more questions now if we're deploying even more troops.
The deployment of these more troops, I guess, we will get an update from the Minister of Defense tomorrow if she is going to attend that repatriation ceremony, as well as the President. We understand that both the President and the Minister of Defense, as well as the Army Chief, are going to be there tomorrow. They might give a bit of clarity on why there was this need of the redeployment of more troops. From the DA, they seem to believe that the deployment of these more troops is to try and launch an offensive to try and rescue those soldiers that have been captured by the M23 rebels. But there hasn't been any confirmation from the Defense Department. Obviously, they cannot share their strategies when it comes to the war that is ongoing there. But there is that expectation, especially for the families of those individuals. But also, the department has not been forthcoming in terms of the individuals that were injured. We've received reports from the UN that seem to suggest that during the 23rd as well as until the 27th, there were quite a number of individuals. Some reports seem to suggest that over 1,000 individuals were injured. We are not sure how many of those are South African soldiers and whether there is currently a plan from our government to repatriate them to South Africa, Michelle.
It would be bizarre, Junior, that just over a week ago, the SANDF was in Parliament briefing the Defence Portfolio Committee on the deployment of troops in the DRC. Of course, it was in the wake of these 14 soldiers being killed in eastern DRC. And just a week later, there are reports of this added deployment. One would think that, I wonder, just given the safety situation and the intelligence situation around how much information the department does put out into the public, but I wonder whether this would have or should have been something that the department briefed the Portfolio Committee about when they appeared last week.
The last time we did speak to the Minister of Defense was during a cabinet lehodla in Pretoria, and she did indicate that there was a necessity from her side as well as the Defense Department to keep some of this information to themselves because it would then compromise those South African soldiers that are actually on the ground. So if indeed there is this additional deployment and she did not update the parliamentary portfolio, I think this could be the excuse that the Defense Minister would actually give, that giving such information would actually compromise those South Africans on the ground. It could lead to more deaths of South African soldiers. So this was the need for her to then keep this information to herself. But we did try and get a hold of the spokesperson of the Department of Defense. He also has not responded to those queries since yesterday when we learnt of this additional deployment that has happened in Goma.
We'll keep trying. Junior Kamala live to us there at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. You'll keep us updated. This is a developing story.